here. And I want to thank you so very much. This is my first public speaking engagement. Family and friends. But I hope that what this will do will spark me to visit other places, maybe even schools, to talk with kids about some of the topics we're going to go over. And it means a lot to me that you all took time out of your schedule to be with me tonight. So thank you. I'm very humbled by it. And for those of you that I don't know well, Ashley and Kelly just came here from Westchester University. They heard about it through their professor, which I think is very cool. They're future teachers, so I think that's very good. Yeah, that they're here tonight to sort of learn about what we're going to go over. This has been a long journey for me. I had no idea that I would be standing in front of you tonight. And for me, it's very, again, it's humbling. When I started, what I did was I started collecting my son's prescription and medication history over a 10-year period. That's how the book started. We had gone from 4 different states to where we are now. We've been here about 9 years. And what was happening was he was chronically sick from 0 to 10. Sick as can be, allergies, sinus infections, coughing, wheezing. They diagnosed him with allergies, with asthma, with sinusitis, with chronic headaches, migraines, psychological throat clearing, psychological coughing, and it goes on and on. It was nighttime not sleeping, inhalers and steroids that caused all kinds of symptoms. We could never get a handle on it. And after about 10 years, I said, okay, I'm doing everything that I know that I'm being told what to do, and it's not working for this poor child. I have to try a different approach, right? Seems logical. Had no idea where to start, no idea where to begin, had no knowledge of where my next step was going to be, other than the fact that I knew the medical approach that they were taking with him wasn't working. So that's sort of what led me here and to this book. It took me almost 7 years to finish, and I love the finished product. I think it has a lot of valuable information that people can use throughout their lives, for their kids, for their loved ones. And what I found was that the information in the book is all very basic. So while I'll share part of my story and my son's story, it's really not about me at all. I'm sort of the messenger. It's more about all of us. It's about individuals in this room and in our communities that are at young ages and even our ages getting cancers, diabetes, obesity, strokes, heart issues, allergies that are uncontrollable. I think the list goes on and on. Mental health issues. How many people do we know that are depressed or anxious, overstressed, too busy? The list goes on and on and on. So that's why I think it's important to me to be here in front of you. I'm not a public speaker. It's probably the last thing in the world I want to do. But you know, the very first sentence in my book is, be the change you want to see in this world. So that's why I'm here. Something needs to change. I think as a collective unit, we can all agree that there's a lot going on in our world today. Some of it we can control, some of it we cannot control. But I think that tonight hopefully starts a dialogue and a discussion about some of the issues that our kids and that we're facing at a relatively young age, and why that is. What are some of the possibilities that are causing us to be chronically ill, to be chronically sick, to have disorders and cancers, and really suffering at a young age. So that's really what started this process for me. Did I miss anyone? You got one? So that's really where this book evolved from. And as I was doing my research, I was shocked because what kept coming up for me is that it's not necessarily you're born, with chronic yeast infections and you're born with type 2 diabetes. Well, you're not, but so many of us are getting it, and so many of us are overweight and obese, and actually it's through no fault of our own. It's what they're doing to the foods that's causing some of this. So as I did my research, it was astounding to me that my son went 10 years with Western medicine. So the approach with Western medicine is prescription, prescription, prescription. And this is not a rant on Western medicine. We need Western medicine. It's life-saving. So there's a place for Western medicine. There's also a place for empowerment. There's a place for learning our bodies, understanding our bodies. What do our bodies need to sustain maximum health? That's the piece that we're not taught. That's the piece that we did not grow up learning. Through no fault of our parents, it's a generational, we learn as we go kind of thing. But what's happened is from the time that we were young to now, the food system in our country has collapsed. And what it's doing is it's contributing to a lot of the issues that we're facing today. So that's sort of where I want to go. I could speak for hours, maybe even years, on Frankie's symptoms and what he went through. It was horrific, it was sad, it was disappointing, it was, at times I felt helpless and hopeless. But out of it, something good is coming. And I think if I can look at it that way and I can share with you some of the things that I've learned along the way that may help you or your family, then something's good come out of something bad. So this is, I want this to be a group discussion. I don't want to be up here, chit-chatting all night about what I've learned. I want you all to ask questions. One of the things that I have found in talking with friends and working with clients with the National Candida Center, there's a lot of questions. And for good reason. The food industry is a puzzle in and of itself. So trying to navigate that system can be challenging, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. So that's some of the things I'm going to touch on. And if you have questions, I really hope that you're open to asking them, okay? So 2009 was really the year that I said, okay, enough is enough. Something has to change. And what sparked that for me was a visit to his pediatrician after countless, doctor visits. He was the sickest he'd ever been and went from allergy and asthma symptoms to major digestive disorders, constipation, leaky gut syndrome, diarrhea, bloating, gas. So we had all the asthma and allergy symptoms and the coughing and this and that. But what happens is it takes a step further. And it takes a step further when we don't provide our body with the right nutrients. And I will say, for some people in this room and family and friends, it may not be enough to change your food. If you're having major issues, sometimes you need a nutritionist, a therapist, a knowledgeable practitioner to help you in this process, because once your body reaches a certain point, you need help in terms of vitamins, supplements, clearing out the digestive system, and sort of starting over. And that's what we did with Frankie. So while food is important, if you're having issues, it might be a good idea to reach a practitioner. And they're all over the place. You'd be amazed at how many practitioners are in this 5-mile radius of Westchester. They're all over. So, and if you have any questions on that, just, see me at the end. And I left my email address at the bottom of the pages if you have questions or concerns and you want to email me privately. So you know, like I said, at age 10, it was reflux and diarrhea and leaky gut, and that's when I went out on the alternative, holistic approach to healing. Had no idea that's the steps I was taking, but that's the way that I went. Now, the difference between Western medicine and holistic health or alternative approaches is that Western medicine tends to focus solely on the symptoms. If you have nasal congestion, take this, it'll dry it up. If you have reflux, take this, it'll calm down your esophagus and stuff. Holistic health looks at all of you, and that's really, really important. It looks at the physical, but it also looks at the emotional and the spiritual. Sometimes there are emotional reasons to why we get sick, and we have to sort of be open to that and look at that. So really, holistic health looks at all parts of your being. Okay. So Frankie, when I started the holistic approach, the first thing that caught my eye was 3 different doctors described him as having candida. And so this was a whole new diagnosis, and I was like, what? You know, what is that? Does anyone know what it is? Yeah, it's you don't hear about it often. What candida is an inner yeast infection, an inner ecology problem. So some say that most major diseases begin in the digestive system. And after studying it for so many years, it sort of makes sense to me. Your digestive system is really your second brain. It's what fuels your body. So it's sort of described this way. Your natural flora in your body is made up of acid to break food down, enzymes, hormones, bacteria, and yeast. So bacteria is plentiful while yeast is there, but a little bit smaller in numbers, right? So microorganisms. What happens when we take antibiotics is the bacteria goes away completely and the yeast rises. It grows, it multiplies. So what you're left with after taking an antibiotic is no bacteria whatsoever. And the thing that yeast thrive on, live on, survive on is sugar. So then you have a plethora of yeast. And what happens with the yeast, which is sort of kind of gross, is that they're too small to break out of your digestive tract, but what they do is the toxins are released into your bloodstream. That's why you can have hundreds of different symptoms just based on your body that are yeast related. So I urge all of you, if you have the book, there's 4 or 5 tests you can take. There's a self-test you can do at home. I really urge you to sort of look and maybe do a little bit of research for yourself if you're having issues or someone you know is having issues. You know, besides the antibiotics throwing off our body or in our health, stress, the foods we eat, alcohol consumption. So you want to look at your body and your digestive system as having the proper amount of pH. So pH balance in your body is really important. I've been taught it's one of the most basic fundamental things that our body does throughout our entire lifetime is to keep our body in an alkaline state. And we're not. I'm not either. I wasn't, right? It's very, you know, when you're hearing about this stuff for the first time, you're like, what? I don't get it. You know, if I can explain it this way, you have a teeter-totter, right? So you have acidity on this side and alkalinity on this side. The way that we currently live today, stress, McDonald's, fast food, what they're putting in our foods, alcohol, lack of sleep, too busy, moms, we always put ourselves last.
Who's she talking about?
we're teetering on acidity. So, and that causes disease and symptoms and illness. So what we have to do collectively is bring back into balance our bodies. And how do we do that? Getting enough sleep at night, drinking enough water, being hydrated properly, eating the right foods, eliminating the processed foods that are full of garbage. You'd be astounded at what they're putting in the foods today. Astounded. There are so many things that we can do individually and collectively to sort of bring back into balance that pH. And I do believe that it is, it's very fundamental in our overall health. But what I want to talk more about is what they're doing to our foods that we're not really aware of. So if you look at the health issues today, in 1900, 1 out of 30 of us would get cancer. You can look right to your left or right, because one of you is going to have cancer. 1 out of 3 of us will have diabetes. 1 out of 70, I think it's 74 of our kids will have an autism spectrum disorder. Somebody dies every 3 minutes from a heart attack. You know, the statistics are staggering and alarming. Alzheimer's, it's the 3rd leading cause of death in America. I found that fascinating. I did not know that. So, as it stands now, our children are projected to live shorter lifespans than us. And if I'm looking at that picture, I'm looking at, okay, we're going to live to be 80. And as I see it now, we're sort of limping along the way. We're suffering. Our family members are suffering. Our communities are suffering. Collectively, we're suffering. And I think the time has come, and it's happening. There is a food movement. People are waking up on massive scales. The food companies are starting to change what they're doing because we're saying enough is enough. We've seen in a generation and a half the number of illnesses just skyrocket. And it's scary. Our kids will be probably the most stressed out, the most busy, dying younger, sicker, suffering more, all because of the foods that they're eating. And here's the thing. I would love to go to McDonald's. I don't have a problem with hamburger and french fries. I'm fine with that. But what they're doing to the food is horrific. So in England, for example, you can go to McDonald's and get french fries. In their ingredients, they have 3. Probably potatoes, salt, and oil. Here in America, same product, same company, they have 17. So you can buy a Kellogg's Nutri-Grain bar. Here it's with red dye number 30, red dye number whatever, and then throw in something else. In the UK, it's all natural. It's beet, beet powder and so on and so forth. Look at the number of kids that have ADD or ADHD, behavior issues. The mental health disorders in children continue to rise. So again, it's not necessarily that we're doing something wrong. That's not it at all. It's that they're putting stuff in our food that's causing a major problem. One of those being sugar. I don't know, if you get a chance afterwards, maybe you can come up and look at this nifty little board I made. So this is the amount of sugar a man should have a day. I think it's a little high, but they say 9 grams of sugar a day for men. And I lost my woman's, but I don't know where, it's somewhere in the car. It's 6 grams. Okay, so it's a third less than this. This is the amount of sugar in 1 soda. So you've surpassed your sugar amount by 2-fold, maybe. I found this fascinating, and I glued it to my board so I can't hold it up. A bag of fruit snacks, Welch's fruit snacks. This is how the food companies are misleading people. This one bag of fruit snacks has 5 servings, right? So they should eat it 5 separate times throughout the day. It has 60 grams of sugar. And how many are they eating? 2, 3, I can't get it, 2, 3 at a time, right? So they're consuming so much sugar. Just to give you a quick idea of what sugar does to the body, it suppresses the immune system. It upsets the minerals in our body. It makes you deficient in magnesium and calcium, copper. It produces a rise in triglycerides. It contributes to reduction in defensive in regard to the inner ecology I talked about. It raises the level of neurotransmitters. You know, with the food that our kids are eating, a study came out, and they were looking at the different side effects of food dyes. And what's interesting is all the studies that they've done only show one food dye at a time, the effects. So what happens when there's 2, 3, 4 food dyes combined together in one product? And that's just one little snack. I mean, my kids can eat this stuff in half an hour and not think twice about it. So again, it's really changing our thought process about the foods that we want our kids to eat, and educating them at the same time. If I was a kid, I'd want to eat all this. It's fun, it tastes good, it makes me feel good. But then there's a crash, right? And it's upsetting our bodies, and it's causing disease on a scale that I don't think we're prepared to handle, especially when you look at the obesity problem. 1 in 2 Americans are now overweight. 1 in 3 are obese. Our children, in general, have a huge obesity problem that's going to lead to type 2 diabetes, cancers, heart-related disorders, diseases. And I don't say that to scare anybody. It's more of a, okay, we need to regroup and take charge and stop letting them do this to us. They should be able to McDonald's should be able to make a French fry the same way they do in Europe. But they can here because it's cheap and we've never really cared about it. And so I will say, though, again, that things are changing for the better. Panera Bread is taking out 150 different additives in their food. Panera's like a healthy go-to place for most people. It's chock full of unhealthy additives, not to mention how we grow our fruits and vegetables in this country, which is sort of scary in and of itself. I don't know if people understand what GMOs are, but it's on the rise. They just approved apples and potatoes. What they're doing is they're genetically modifying our fruits and veggies, because what's happening is the farmers want a simple way to reduce the weeds. And so what they're doing is they're genetically modifying the seeds to withstand the spraying of a pesticide called Roundup. So they're called Roundup Ready seeds. But we've genetically changed the seed of whatever fruit or vegetable we're going to be consuming. So our bodies don't know what to do with that. That's why you see also a rise in food allergies. I mean, I don't know, growing up, I didn't know food allergies. I didn't know kids with food allergies or the peanut butter table, you know. But now we've got kids with, I think it's 1 in 13 kids have a food sensitivity or food allergy. That's a problem. And I think it needs to be addressed on a bigger scale. And again, it is. Kraft Macaroni and Cheese just said that they would stop putting food dyes in our mac and cheese because they don't do it over in Europe. Has anyone heard of the Food Babe Okay, love her. So she is fighting the fight for us. I mean, she is going to every major corporation and getting what she calls her food babe army. And I think there are probably a few 100,000 people, and she gets them to sign petitions. She's gotten Subway to take out the yoga mat ingredient in their bread that makes it rise. She's gotten Chick-fil-A to get them to take out antibiotics out of their meat supply and to cut down on their added ingredients as well. I mean, Chipotle just went GMO free, so that's a good option for your kids. I mean, even if you go down into Westchester, there's 4 or 5 restaurants now. I mean, and that just tells me that it's growing. And, you know, I'm not only eat organic, be vegetarian, and amen. That's really not it. It's taking a look at what is happening to our kids. What are we, and I always take it a step further, what are we leaving our kids? You know, dirty water and polluted air and environments that are just, I don't know what's going to be left for them. And even when stuff is left, they're going to be sick. So I think the time is now to begin to start changing some of this. So, you know, going back to Frankie, so he was an awful eater. I was pregnant a lot of the time with Mary and Catherine. I would throw him whatever appeased him. There's no doubt about it. And it worked, right? Sort of. So, you know, I just think the time is now to really start thinking about it, talking with our kids about it. I have 3 teenagers, so a lot of times what I say goes over here. And I get that. Sometimes it's infuriating, but I get it. But there are certainly other things we can do. Making sure we have a clean water source, right? Looking at your toiletry, cleaning supplies, beauty products, it's all chemicals. Tomorrow, just walk around your house. When you pick something up, read the label. You'll be shocked. I mean, I can't pronounce half of it, let alone know what it means. And I don't need to know what it means. You know, heavy metals. It's in our water, it's in our corn, it's in our dental fillings, it's in our vaccines. Aluminum. I'm not sure why we have aluminum in our deodorant as a major ingredient. It's a heavy metal that's toxic to our body. It sticks to our tissues. It causes Alzheimer's. It causes breast cancer. We're letting them put it in there. So I think as a collective, we have to maybe start thinking about changing what we buy. And if you go to Giant or Wegmans or Whole Foods or Kimberton, you'll see that things are changing. I mean, in Giant, for example, what do they have now? 2 or 3 aisles of organic, healthier. And just because something says natural or organic doesn't necessarily mean it's good for us either. Gluten-free, that's the latest fad, to go gluten-free. While it's good to go gluten-free, you still have all the other ingredients. And I go gluten-free as much as I can. I eat gluten. It's hard to avoid. It's in everything. But what happened in the 1960s is they wanted to make as much wheat as possible. So they altered the DNA of wheat. And we're now getting 14 new gluten proteins in our bodies, and our bodies don't know what that is, right? So it causes inflammation. And if you're sensitive to it, what's happening is that it's your small intestines, it stops right there. So it's disrupting your small intestines, and it's causing inflammation, which causes your digestive system to become unbalanced. So, that's something to think about. I went from, for example, a regular Pop-Tart. here's your breakfast, regular Pop-Tart. Then I went to organic Pop-Tart. Okay, I eliminated the chemicals and the dyes and everything that they add that they shouldn't. But now how about a grapefruit? Or a bowl of oatmeal? How about some brown rice? Our typical breakfasts are so acidic to the body. It's not how we should start our day. We need something that's energizing, that gets us going in the morning. Waffles and syrup and sausage and pancakes, those probably aren't the best ideas because they're loaded with gluten, with sugar, and whatever other added ingredients. So what I'm asking you to consider is to start looking at the food choices you make for you and your family and just taking it slow. How can I go from a regular conventional Pop-Tart to an organic Pop-Tart to what can I now make my kids that they'll eat? And it's challenging, there's no doubt about it. But I think that if we start the conversation, it's going to lead somewhere. I know my kids, again, don't always like what I say, don't want to hear what I say, tell me to stop talking. Get it? I get it. But I'm hoping down the road, right? So for example, when Frankie gets a cold, he knows exactly what to do. He knows to stop eating the sugar, stop eating the fast food, start taking vitamins, start getting sleep. He drinks more water, he does veggie powders, he does smoothies with all kinds of healthy things in it for him. So he knows what to do, which I'm thankful for. Does he always do it? No. I don't expect him to. He's a kid. They're all kids. But I think if we can start the dialogue with them, I think it will be great. I mean, if you think about the kids, even in elementary and middle school, right? Think about all the special days there are. Birthdays, everyone brings in a birthday treat. Halloween, everyone brings in candy. Valentine's Day, Easter, Christmas. Then go outside of school, where you've got your birthday celebrations and your birthday parties and, you know, Halloween and Christmas and whatever it may be for you. They're inundated with it everywhere. They can't sit down to watch a TV show without 30 advertisements for garbage. They're just accustomed to it. That's the way it is. But I think we have an opportunity to take a deep breath, to slow down, to recognize that maybe what I'm unknowingly giving my kids might not be the best for them. And hopefully none of your kids have health issues. That would be awesome. I'm not sure that that's necessarily the case. So just some ideas. And I gave everyone a handout, I believe, that sort of gives you some ideas of where to get started. You know, for instance, I would just walk around your bathroom, your kitchen, your drawers, your snack drawers, your freezers, and just look at what you have. How much packaged food do I have? The more you can eliminate packaged foods, the healthier they'll be for it, by far. So again, if you can get your kids to stop drinking the sodas and the Gatorades and the Sprites. I mean, Mountain Dew has 77 grams of sugar. That's, you know, I mean, fill that one up and add more. You know, these energy drinks, you know, I don't even know what's in it. I'm not sure that my kids have ever brought one home. But the caffeine that's in it and the sugar and the artificial garbage, it's just inundating their bodies. You know, you walk through the checkout line at the store, every store now. I mean, you could be at the hardware store and you've got your candy heading up to pay for something. And it's there because we do it. And I just think maybe we need to stop doing it. It might be challenging and it might be difficult, but I think if I want my kids to not die younger than me and not suffer with symptoms and illnesses, then I'm okay with not having it. And the way I look at it is, I don't have it in the house. Every now and then I will. If I don't have it in the house, they can't eat it. They can certainly go out and get it, which they do, but at least I know in the house that I'm good. So I've cut out a lot with that, right? So it's only water. I've changed the toiletry items and the cleaning supplies so they're not exposed to chemicals in that regard. And I've changed the food. Would I love them to eat more veggies? Absolutely. Because how do we go from living in an acidic society to alkaline? Veggies. Veggies, veggies, veggies. I mean, all veggies have sugar. You cannot eliminate sugar. I'm not asking you to. I'm not considering you to do that. But certainly vegetables from broccoli is a little bit healthier than sugar from fruit snacks. You know, and there's thousands of recipes for veggies that you can sort of try with the kids. And it's, you know, if you think about it this way, they refer to it as 80-20. Can you make a meal or have a meal or go out and get a meal that's 80% alkalizing and 20% acidic? Right? So can your main portion of your meal be a veggie versus acidic foods? Right. Well, certain grains are better than others. So brown rice is better than white rice. Quinoa is better than both. You know, things like that. Oils, can you have healthier oils? Coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, over the canola highly processed oils. You know, can you start your day off with fruit instead of maple syrup, sugar, powdered sugar, pancakes, that sort of thing? If you go to, has anyone heard of Chris Carr? Okay. There's so many resources out here. I had no idea when I started. I really thought that I was starting this on my own. I'm like, ooh, I've come across something that no one's ever discovered. And I'm so wrong. There are so many people and so many practitioners in this area that focus solely on holistic health. You know, and again, talking holistically, our emotions play such a big role in us staying healthy. That it's often overlooked. I mean, you know, for example, do we get up and start our day like, oh, another day with the kids, and you know, gotta do this? Do we wake up and thank God that we're alive and today's another day? I mean, it seems extreme, but it's not. It's sort of living in the moment. Okay, you can't live in the past. Whatever's happened in the past is done. It's gone. Can't get it back. Can't change it. It's just the way it is. Don't want to live in the future with the what ifs, because that doesn't help. But if we stay in the present moment, today, this is what I'm going to do. And be positive with ourselves. No one ever tells us to be positive with ourselves. To love ourselves just the way we are, flaws and all. Mistakes are really just learning lessons, but you know, so I think that we have to look at all of that, and there are certainly plenty of resources out there for all of us. So it just depends sort of where you fall on the spectrum. If you're sick and you know someone who's sick, then we might speed along the process. But if you're looking to make some changes, I think the handouts are a good way to do that. This process, if you choose to change a few things, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. I would say take it slow, take it day by day, make one change a week, one change a day if you're comfortable. Educate yourself, maybe get a good book. You know, just become empowered. I think through my own experience, I've become empowered. You know, there's a part of me that's like, ooh, I should be scared. Is this coming back? I don't know what to do. It's going to come back. I can have a headache. I can feel it. Nope. In this moment, I'm fine. In this moment, I'm safe. In this moment, I'm going to choose to take 20 minutes for myself. How many of us take time out of our days to do something just for us in quiet? Not many, because we're so busy. And I used to be too. So I think it's just acknowledging that it's okay to take time for ourselves. It is okay. I think my kids have had to learn that lesson in terms of what I do and don't do anymore. But it's okay. I think we just need to accept where we are, know that we can take time for ourselves, communicate that effectively, and how somebody else responds to that is theirs, not ours. So again, there's plenty of information in the packets, and you all have my email if you have questions. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask in front of a big, scary group? Bob.
If you had to pick one thing, one place to start, would it be the reduction of the sugar in your daily intake? Is that a good place to start?
It's a great place to start. So I had no idea that sugar was causing so much physical issues in our body. And certainly our kids have no idea. I would say you could absolutely start with sugar. That's a big one, yes. I would say start with sugar. If it's overwhelming, change courses. Start with your beauty supplies or your toiletry items. If looking at food and figuring out, how do I change this? I don't know how to change it. Then start smaller. Start with your deodorant or your toothpaste, because those are good places to start as well. Even your cleaning supplies. Yeah.
Have you found reliable information online for finding alternatives to those things? I just wondered where to start to look.
Yeah, there's all kinds. I mean, functionalmedicine.org. Functional medicine, again, is looking at health from an integrative perspective. So we don't want to get rid of modern medicine. It's phenomenal. It's amazing what they do. But on the other hand, our bodies are so powerful. And they can heal themselves if we give them time. Yes, we need modern medicine. But yes, we also need to be empowered to know that our bodies can heal themselves within the right environment. Sometimes we need modern medicine to get to that point. So there are plenty of resources to do that. There's you can go to nutritionists, functional medicine, homeopathic doctors, holistic doctors, acupuncture. They're knowledgeable. All kinds of different ideas. Any other questions?
Yeah. You said that, Frankie knows what to do when he gets sick.
Right.
So do you think in your children, have you seen it that before they get sick, are they cognizant of that? Are they trying to stay more in a healthy line? Do they really equate feeling better with eating better all the time?
Right.
You see it seeping in?
I definitely see it seeping in. I think Frankie has the best handle on it. He was the sickest. So, I think that doesn't come as a surprise to me. Would I love to see him be more careful in what he's doing when he's not sick? Yes. But I feel like I've given him the tools that I know going forward to help him naturally on his own without medicine. And I think it'll be up to him to sort of decide if that path is for him or not. I think he's too old for me to make him choose that path. And I want him to choose his own path. I think, sometimes you have to hit bottom. And I'm not sure that he has, or he may have. I don't know. But I think it's, going forward, I think it's his journey to sort of navigate for himself.
So breakfast is difficult in my household. What do you
Breakfast,
recommend for your kids that they?
it's the hardest meal of the day to change, because if I have breakfast, you could do smoothies, right? So you could do fruits with chia seeds or hemp seeds. They don't even know they're in there, but they provide calcium and protein and healthy fats. You know, cream of buckwheat is an alternative to cream of wheat. There's no gluten, right? So you can throw cinnamon and a little bit of earth balanced butter, which is a all natural. I hate the word natural. It's a vegetarian, plant-based butter. You could do organic pancake mixes. At least you're cutting out the chemicals. You could do gluten-free pancake mixes. I mean, there are so many products coming out on the market today. You could, if your kids are big meat eaters, do uncured bacon. I'm not saying get rid of all the foods we know and we're accustomed to. I'm just saying look at it and is there a healthier option? Applegate Farms is a good meat product to buy. They do a lot of frozen sausages and hot dogs. Their hot dogs are far better than Oscar Mayer. Bell and Evans is another chicken recipe. Sometimes I give my kids that for breakfast. Chicken nuggets, because I know that it's a healthier option. I do soup in the morning sometimes. Sometimes I'll have a salad. Sometimes I'll have an avocado. Sometimes I'll have a smoothie. Sometimes I'll have a green drink. Sometimes I'll have toast. Sometimes I'll have cream of buckwheat. Sometimes I'll have brown rice with tamari. You know, it just varies.
So I'm curious. I haven't heard you say eggs yet. Do you have,
So Frankie's allergic to eggs, so that's why I haven't brought it up. Eggs, I think it just depends on the source. I mean, I think we've all seen the videos or the movies of
exploding chickens?
yes.
Yeah.
You know, how they're raised today is just vastly different than how they were raised 30 years ago. I mean, some chickens never leave the cage with 10 other chickens and they're half dead before they get to the processing plant. McDonald's makes a paste. They take the chicken carcasses and they make a paste with chemicals to kill off the bacteria, and that's the chicken nugget. You know, then they say cage-free, right? So the USDA has no defined definition of what that word means. So you don't know if that chicken is outside for 4 hours or 4 seconds. You don't know if it's, you know, in a hen house with 30,000 other birds, or if it's freely roaming doing what it does. You just have no idea. And that's the other thing with the word natural. There's no definition for natural, right? So you can take high fructose corn syrup. Oh, I'm glad that reminded me. Thank you. So high fructose corn syrup. So sugar in general. This is why it's affecting us so negatively. Sugar, sucrose. It's bound together like this, right? You have fructose and glucose. When we eat sugar, our body digests it because it's in a bound form. We have to digest it in order for it to process. High fructose corn syrup has fructose and glucose. Fructose is even sweeter than sugar, and it's not in a balanced state, and it's not bound, so it goes straight to the bloodstream. Our body doesn't digest it. It goes straight into the blood. So high fructose corn syrup should be a natural product, but it's not. It's highly processed. It's GMO. There's mercury in corn. You know, the list goes on and on. It's in everything. It's in your toiletry items, your shampoos, your antacids, your toothpaste. It's in everything. And now they're coming up with different names because we, the consumers, know that high fructose corn syrup isn't that great. So they're trying to stay a step ahead of us. So the best way that I can explain it to you is to go from the packaged processed, even organic, to the healthier. make soups, makes chili, makes all kinds of different salads. Have fruit out for the kids. Have carrots. Have whatever you think they like. Make something healthy with it. Guacamole. Can you make your own homemade guacamole or homemade salsas? And the list sort of goes on and on. Nuts. Can you have healthy nuts? Peanuts aren't a good alternative. They grow on the ground, and we use pesticides and chemical fertilizers. That was new to me. So what big companies are doing all across the country is they're taking their hazardous waste, which they have to take somewhere, they're taking it to be processed into chemical fertilizer. So the fertilizer that they're using to bring the soil up to a good nutrient level so that the seeds grow is chemical fertilizers filled with carcinogens. So when you think about our fruits and vegetables, the soil's chemical fertilizer, we're genetically modifying the seed, we're spraying pesticides, which we know causes cancer, on the fruit, and then we're eating it. We shouldn't have to investigate. I mean, I think it's absurd. We shouldn't have to know what they're doing. They should just do it, but they're not. So now it's up to us to sort of educate ourselves on some of these big issues.
Do you have any tips on how you can have your kids try to start incorporating some of this without completely making yourself insane? Like health freak, and, like I feel like the more you try to push them, the more they.
So what I've learned, and I sort of go back and forth, and I'm gently or harshly reminded every now and then, stop. Like sometimes I just inundate them, and I get that, and it's it's now my passion, and so I talk about it, and I now know that I sort of have to take a step back. But again, I think if you eliminate the sports drinks and really just have water when you're at home, I think having a family discussion on it. Again, they may not want to hear you, they may not hear you, but they're hearing you. Some level of them is hearing you. And the more that we talk about it collectively, the more that they're going to be like, ooh, okay, I've heard that before. So take your regular fruit snacks and go organic, right? Take your potato chips and go non-GMO, made with avocado oil. I mean, there's so many healthier products now coming on the market. But, what I do when my kids get home, and I've gotten away from a little bit, is having a mini meal. Instead of them coming home and finding whatever garbage they can find, and they find it like in those hidden places. Having a mini meal. I would prefer that they come home and have an organic hot dog with organic french fries and the fruit than for them to raid my s'mores jar and eat all the Hershey bars. You know what I mean? So again, it's just taking one product at a time. How can I make this product a little bit healthier?
When buying meat, so I've noticed at the food store they have all natural, grass-fed, but not organic. Do you stay away? You really want organic meat, or kind of what's the
So what they're doing with meat is that we've changed what the cows are eating. They've gone from they're eating grain now instead of eating grass and being out in the pastures, roaming and doing their thing and living a happy life, and then coming to slaughter, right? You sort of want a happy cow that you're going to eat. That's not happening. So cows are confined to now factory farms. They are born to die, and they die within 16 months. We can now take a calf from birth to slaughter in like 16 months, whereas before it used to be 4 to 5 years. And we're doing it with steroids and hormones and antibiotics and grain, corn, they're eating corn. Their bodies can't digest. We can't digest corn. They can't digest corn. Dairy cows are producing so much milk a year that they can't even stand. I mean, if you Google feedlots, if you watch the movie Food Inc., a good starting point might be to watch one of these movies with them. Super Size Me, Food Inc., Fed Up, Bought's another one. I would, and I'm not saying go meat free. That's a personal decision for anybody. But they need to do a better job. So all natural. I'm not sure what that means. It's just another word. If you see something on a package that says natural, you're like, oh, okay, it's natural. Not necessarily true, because what they're doing with the meats, things I just described, the other thing they're doing is irradiating meat. So it passes through radiation to kill off the microorganisms. And so we can eat a piece of meat that's been irradiated and has preservatives on it. It looks good, it looks healthy, I'm going to get it, except it's so old that it's full of unhealthy bacteria. And they're doing it, freely and sort of at our expense.
Good segue.
Oh,
Speaking of expense,